What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 5, Feel Her Love. So to kick everything off, this is going to be a really quick video because, again, I don't want to talk too much. I haven't discussed any of the other episodes in my first video discussing The Last of Us. As a player of the video game and as someone who really enjoyed the first season, I'm going to jump in and talk immediately about this season because so far so good. I've been enjoying it. Some things I have a problem with. Some things I'm really liking the way they're doing the story. But again, we'll see when it comes out to the end of it. But in this video, we're going to be talking about Feel Her Love, Episode 5. And just to really kick it off, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, early parts of this episode, I was not feeling it. Wasn't really the greatest, in my opinion. I was feeling like the writing of this whole entire show has been kind of diminishing as we've been going on. I feel like from the beginning to the now of this part of the season, Episode 5, we've been seeing how the writing has been slowly decreasing in the sense of that there was really strong development from the beginning with the whole entire story of Joel and the backstory with the therapist, and then the dynamic with Tommy, Ellie, everything going on with Dina as well. And then now going into Episode 5, we're getting into the whole entire love and backstory with Dina and Ellie, and then seeing the pregnancy outcome again, and then as well seeing everything going on with the scars and the wolves as well. So with that being said, this early part of this episode, I wasn't really feeling it. Of course, we got into the episode with seeing the discussion between the WLF woman from last episode in Episode 4, and then another sort of soldier, I guess, from the community. And they were discussing how they had to leave someone behind. They had to leave a group behind in order to protect the community. And then we end up seeing how spores are now finally involved with the story. Now, for those who haven't played the video game, spores are heavily involved in the game. They're kind of a way that the infection spreads just beyond the bite itself. But they kind of didn't do that in Season 1, which was one of my problems with it. Because, again, the spores are such a key, vital point of emphasis in the first game that it really emphasizes Ellie's immunity to everything that is the infection itself, the cordyceps virus. So again, with seeing it now being involved in the season, I'm really excited that they're going forward with that. We're going to see maybe along the lines what it leads with the other infected as well. But I guess we're seeing how that evolution of the infection as well as playing into the season as well. They're trying to add an emphasis because they did say that the season was going to be more heavily emphasized with the infection and with the infected as well. So we're seeing a lot more scenes, a lot more action scenes with the infected, not just with the people itself. So that being said, seeing how now we're the characters are evolutionized as well as the infection itself is evolutionizing. That's kind of, a different storytelling aspect, but I do enjoy what they're doing with it. Now, going into the second half of the episode, seeing how they're doing the story with Ellie and Dina, they're changing up a little bit from the game because, again, at this point in the game, Dina had already left. We had already know she's pregnant, and she stays behind in the theater to kind of direct Ellie along the lines of the story. Now, when we are picking it up in this episode, Dina is a big asset and a big help to Ellie so that she can be able to navigate the whole entire Seattle area and make her way to the hospital, because that's the whole emphasis. Ellie wants to get revenge on every single member of the group that killed Joel. So now seeing how they're going after Nora, because that's who they've been hearing along the radios, and knowing that she's in the hospital, that's the first person they're going after. So they chart this thing, and then we get to the factory scene. And that's where I feel like the episode really took off. We see how the action set pieces are a lot more in bigger budget, and a lot the CGI as well, not even the CGI, but the practicality of the effects as well started to pick up. And from the emphasis that was seen in the behind the scenes on the end of the episode, we see how instead of Dina being the caretaker of Ellie, this isn't my own idea, this is from the actual episode, we see how Ellie is the one that takes care of Dina, and how Ellie has to be the protector and the provider for Dina in this scene. So we get to see her rawness, her violent nature, how the nature of the environment she grew up in is what she's seeing. And again, this was really, really good. I think that this was a fun part of the episode. And then from there, we see how Ellie is willing to go beyond the ends of death even, and she's willing to die for Dina, as what she said in the previous episode. And then we see how she's taking all the action from the stalkers. Again, the stalker scenes, I really enjoy them. I think that they're doing a really good job, and the look of them and the whole entire threat of them in the episode, you feel it. And it was just jaw-dropping in the whole entire moment. So seeing how they're playing into the effect of how effective these stalkers are, it's adding a new level of threat to the actual infected type. So from there, then we get the whole entire emphasis with Jesse saving Ellie, and this is in the game in a different capacity, but it's still there. So immediately when they did that, I picked up that they're doing a lot of storylines. They're telling a lot of video game in just this one episode. So we see the saving of Ellie in that one scene, because again, in the game, Ellie had already been on her own. Jesse saves Ellie, and then they go on this whole entire like track part of the game where you're shooting at infected while also shooting at the WLF, and then there's a whole entire thing where they go back to the theater as well. But in this one, they save Ellie and Dina, and then there's just kind of like bickering back and forth of how Jesse had to go back and save Ellie, and on top of that, now we're getting to see Tommy, and that's another aspect I'm kind of a little upset with, is the whole entire Tommy aspect. I really wish that they would kind of say more what was going on with Tommy, and how the fact that this whole entire journey of Joel passing away is affecting his mental state as well, because again, in the game, Tommy was not going to take no for an answer. He immediately went out and was going to get revenge on his own. He wasn't going to even look for Ellie. He went out on his own to go and kill Abby and kill the whole group as well. So glad to see that they're finally invoking that into the story as well. But now we get to see the scars into effect. Now we've been seeing how the scars have been kind of shown as a low-life group almost. They're just there, and they're very easy to take out because, again, they're more on a docile, less technology, more tacticality with bows and arrows and knives and hatch, whatever you want to call it. So to see them now be a threat in the actual episodes and actually part of the series now, to know that they're not just, bullet sponges, now to see how they're actually very raw, violent. The fact that we got that scene from so I always connect that scene in the show connects back to the E3 trailer from 2017, actually, I think it was, when we got to see the reveal of the game, or 2018, sorry. It was the the reveal of the game itself, and to see how Ellie was in the woods by herself, in the fire and the torches of the Seraphites looking around for anyone, and the whistling. And then we got to see the nested with sin part, which is, again, iconic from that trailer, because, again, we got to see the violent, brutal nature of the Seraphites and how they don't really care, and they believe that these people are all nested with sin, and how they have to gut them alive in order to be able to free them of the sin that is the infection of the world. So to see how that played out, and to see how they're brutal in nature, and maybe even a little bit more scarier than the actual WLF, because the WLF just, it's a bullet and that's it. They're slow and methodical on the way that they process their death. So to see how they invoke that into the thread of the show now, and see how Ellie has to not only worry about the WLF, but also has to worry about the scars, I think they did a top-notch act there into. And then they also, in fact, invoke the threat with her, girlfriend, which is Dina, getting shot in the thigh with the bow and arrow. It really plays on the fact that these scars are not to be messed with. They're just as much of a threat as the WLF. And then we go to the hospital. Again, they're jumping all over with the storylines here. So then we see how Ellie puts in between, do I go back with the group or do I go on my own journey? And then finally they show how Ellie doesn't need help. And this was something I was a little afraid of, that they're going to show that she's not as strong and capable on her own. And they changed that immediately with this scene. So Ellie goes to the hospital, finds Nora in the hospital, and she's tending to the wound. And this is exactly how it is in the game. And then Ellie confronts Nora. Nora, apologized for him, but then, takes a jab at her, says, that Joel died, and made, taunted her with that. And then they go into the running scene, and they go into that action sequence again where they're, Ellie shooting at Nora while Nora's running for her life, and all this, the WLF soldiers are taking shots and aim at her to try to kill her too. So it really invoked the threat and the high energy of the actual game moment. It just felt like playing the game again in that scene. And again, I'm not going to say, and in this scene itself, I'm not going to say that the Ellie casting, like a lot of people are saying, is a bad one. I haven't really. I thought that Bella Ramsey did a good job in the first season, invoking that young immaturity, innocence almost in the first season. But I really wish they did a recast, because, again, I feel like she can be a little bit stronger, and she just doesn't pose a threat to me. But at least in this episode, they did show what kind of threat she is. They did show that she can be violent, but also be immature and innocent as well. And this almost childlike humor onto her. So to see how they invoked a lot of the violence that I was waiting for, because I said it from watching the episode, I was like, if they don't do the scene right where they kill Nora and they don't do it right, then this season might be a lost cause. And they did exactly what I was hoping for. We see how the spores get involved. They fall into the basement. Nora becomes infected. And we seeing all the spores and the actual set of it look just like the video game. And to see how they are finally playing that all out now, it's something to be commended on the writing team, or commended on by the directorial team. I'm really happy with what Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann are doing. They're cooking with this season, and they cooked with that scene itself. So to see that now play out, see how Nora was effectively killed, and well, we're going to know she died because, again, what happened with Ellie. But that whole dynamic, it just really reminded me of the game. And we're seeing Ellie's violent nature. We're seeing now the revenge quest, because now as I was explaining to my family, I'm like, this is not just one. She's going to go after every single member. It's not just Nora. It's going to be Manny. After Manny, it's Mel, and Mel, Owen. And then ultimately it's Abby. And for players of the game, we know what that's going to lead to. And that's probably going to be season 2, because we already know, not season 2, season 3 of the show from part 2. So to see how they're going to play that out and how they're going to tell that story is going to be something in itself. And I'm not going to spoil that. But in this one, we know that Nora dies. She's effectively breathing in the spores. But then she finds out that Ellie is the one that Joel saved in season 1. She's the one that's immune, and she's the one that basically was supposed to be the sacrifice so that everyone can become, saved and immune from the disease as well. Now we know from, lore aspects in the game, we know that the Fireflies wasn't able to do much with it. They've had other people come in through the past, and they've had no success. So who's to say even that Ellie's sacrifice in this part of the game, or in this part of the world, her sacrifice could have been meaningless in itself. So we see how that plays out. So knowing now that whole aspect of the story is being told, and now to know that Ellie is the effective threat now she can play by her own rules. She doesn't have to worry about spore infection, or she has to worry about bite infections. She can just be the raw, violent person on revenge quest, and she's gonna go through hell and high water just to make sure she gets her revenge because of what they did to Joel. To know that she has that brutality in her, it's something that I can't wait to see as it plays out further along. I know there's only about 3 or 4 episodes left from this one. This one was on the shorter side. It did scare me a little bit, again, because the early parts of the episode, the writing was really, really rough. That's what I feel like. Again, the writing has been a little bit, it's been slowly declining, but at least it picked up come the action sequences and everything that's going to go on. So now, effectively, we already know from the trailer that they showed, they're going to go into the flashbacks of how Joel saw the birthday sequence in the museum, and then we're going to see how their relationship starts to slowly decrease and slowly just start to break apart. And that's something I'm going to be excited for, because those parts in the game were something to behold, because they were such sweet, tender moments between Joel and Ellie. To now see it here and to go back and have to relive the trauma, just as Ellie is reliving the trauma as well, of seeing Joel die all the time, the PTSD that she had to suffer through to have to see Joel, die in that moment. We're gonna have to relive it with her and have to go through the moments with her. So again, I think this episode was great. First half was a bit off, then it picked up. As a whole, I'd probably say around 8 on this one. I think that so far it's been my third favorite episode. I think the best episode to me was probably the second one, which is again the episode ultimately where Joel dies. But it's the way that they ended up doing it. I really enjoyed the play out of that whole entire action sequence and the whole entire thing. I think they handled it as best as they possibly could with the stuff they had in their hands at that moment. So this one wasn't the best one by all means, but it was up there as one of the better ones. I did feel like it was a lot better than the third episode and even the first episode. At first, and that's not to say anything about the first episode, it was just, bringing us back into the world. But as a whole, I'm really excited to see how the rest of the story goes. We'll see how the rest of the journey goes. Again, I'll cover it again next Sunday as we go into the season finale and start to post a little bit more about The Last of Us, because again, we're covering everything here on this channel. So if you have any comments or anything that you want to, bring up into the comment section, please leave it below. Leave a like if you can. And again, subscribe. Again, guys, thank you guys so much for coming out again for another video. It's always a fun time to be able to talk movies, TV, and pop culture with you guys. If you can, leave a like, comment if you can, or even subscribe with the post notification bells turned on. All right, we're posting every so often and trying to grow this channel, so it'll be a fun time to be able to talk with you guys about this stuff too. Always remember, Jesus loves you and God made you special, and He loves you very much. We'll catch you in the next video.